Let's get to say it louder here. Listen, we were talking, like before the break, we were talking about that huge brawl that broke out with the Bengals Rams joint practice where involving Aaron Donald swinging the helmets. I mean, so much to where they had to cancel practice. But listen, we saw other practices earlier in the preseason at training camp, with brawls being coming about with the Panthers and Patriots joint practice. So a lot of speculation surrounding these, JP, on if we even should have these joint practices. I'll start with you. What do you think?
I think we should still have joint practices. It's, like I said earlier, a great opportunity for these guys to get reps during the preseason, especially in a space where reps are hard to come by and you're tired of going against your own team. And I don't think that fights are eliminated from practice if you don't go against other teams. I've seen fights happen before. I've also been a part of places where you had really strict guidelines of what happens when a player gets into a fight in practice. They'll get kicked out of practice. Some teams will even fine a player for fighting in practice. So if there's one thing I think that should come out of this is maybe there is a fine system, and it would kind of be a Scouts honor type situation because we're not going to have footage of all these practices to review. But, I wouldn't be upset if they said, hey, Aaron Donald, this is not the type of behavior we expect out of you, a player of your caliber, a veteran leader on this team, and we're going to hit your pocketbook for it. But these guys should be able to continue to have joint practices. I think it's a great thing for the NFL.
Danny, what do you think? I mean, is there any equivalent when it comes to baseball?
Well, yeah, I think at this time of preseason, you're tired of hitting your own guys when you get a chance to hit your own guys. And I'm sure JP will contest. You want to hit somebody else. And you want to hit somebody, and I mean hitting him by tackling them, not just throwing your helmet at them like Aaron Donald did. But to me, like JP, there's fights on your own team at times in preseason too, right? So nobody's talking about ending preseason because you're fighting with your own team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's fights all the time, whether it's on the practice field, whether it's in the locker room. Like, again, you spend so much time around somebody in a passionate physical sport, and you think there's not going to be any type of spillover. And typically what happens after a fight is you come together and you talk about it, and there's no hard feelings, but these things are inevitable. And so if we're going to change the nature of the game and say that this is going to be a less physical game and it's going to be a kind game, then maybe you can eliminate fights. But to think that people aren't going to have these moments, I think is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting ready for the upcoming season. You talked about how, having these practices, guys get sick of seeing the same faces. But I also, I think this is good for the coaches as well, seeing how your team does going up against another team. If they, if they execute well and they play well, you kind of have an idea of how to approach the upcoming season. But if they struggle a bit, then it gives the coaches an idea. All right, we got to go back to the drawing board. We got to make some adjustments because you kind of have an idea of where your team stands against some other teams there. I think it's a good idea. I know we're supposed to debate here, and we all kind of agree. We do like the joint practices. We think it's good. But yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to kind of see how the NFL approaches this now that all these brawls are kind of coming out, because this is something that's been around for years. JP, you participated in them when you played, so we'll see if if they change the rules here
just
after
stop throwing
something like
helmets
that.
at each other.
Yeah, it's that simple, people. Just don't throw helmets.